Life is weirdly a lot harder than we've been told. And midlife? That's a whole other can of worms that I was completely unprepared for. What about you? But here's the good news. There are so many new skills and mindsets that we can learn to make even the toughest days a little bit better. You just haven't learned them. Welcome to Thrive with Kira, a smart and scary podcast for women in midlife that teaches the skills to get more joy and love in your life. Join me weekly as I teach science-based, smarty-farty topics and break them down into bite-sized lessons that you can apply to your life, all while sharing my own shit show life stories that you can learn from. I'll be talking regularly about getting more joy on a daily basis, thriving in midlife, yes, you can, figuring out menopause, healthy dating and relationships, building self-worth, body positivity and neutrality, growth mindset, adult friendships, and also just easy mindfulness. So we can stop just surviving and start learning how to thrive. Welcome to Thrive. Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Hello, my right time gal. How you guys doing? Hello. Please, in this moment, imagine Olivia Newton-John in her Xanadu glory. Imagine her singing the 70s song, I Am Alive, with ELO, the Electric Light Orchestra. Do you guys remember that very psychedelic, I'm alive? Anybody there? If you get that reference, if you can hear that song in your head, you are my people. Hi, everybody, I'm back. How are you? Everything going, my sugar pantses? It's me, Kira. Oh my gosh, guys. I've been taking a couple of months off from the podcast for a while. And first of all, huge shout out to the multiple people who have reached out to me to make sure that nothing terrible went wrong with me or anything else because I just dropped off the face of the earth. And I'm fine. I'm better than fine, actually. I am feeling better than I've felt in a really long time. Part of that is because of the joy journey that I really put into place that became a little bit more of a private joy journey. I'll explain in a second. And just really actively looking at what's going on with me, my body, my life, my hormones, my everything, intentionally working on it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about it, and then we're going to talk about 10 bullshit fucking beliefs that we learned as Gen Xers, because I want to talk about that because just stuff's been coming up for me lately and I want to talk about it. So where have I been for a couple of months? I've been working, as I usually am. I work hard at this business. But halfway through Joy Journey, I was just burned the fuck out. I loved intentionally adding this shit in my day. I did not love making videos or audios or sitting down and writing about it. I just got burned out, guys. I just got burned out. And I think that is massively normal in our world today. And there was a point where I just had the best fucking joy journey day, went out of my day, hung out with Danny, and we got in the car to go home and I started crying. And he's like, why are you crying? We just had an amazing day. And I'm like, because now I have to go home and spend 1 to 2 hours sharing about this, recording it, editing the video, putting it up on YouTube. He's just, babe, this joy journey is ultimately for you. If that part doesn't bring you joy, then just stop doing it. And whoop, there it is, my friends. I had to choose me, just as I tell you to do on this podcast for the last 12 freaking years. I chose me. I chose my happiness, my joy, my contentment, my figuring shit out and making that the goal rather than just sharing it. But I'm here to say I'm on the other side of this. I'm actually feeling great. Taking something off my plate, like doing this podcast for a couple of months, was just a release that I needed. I just needed to lighten up on all the, and this is honest, like free stuff that I do because I get tired and I start to get grumpy about it. And I don't want to feel that way. I want to come on this podcast and share my journey, my thoughts, my learnings, my teachings, like all of the things that I do. And I think do pretty damn well after all these years. But I can't lose my self, my joy, my relationships, my friendships to do it. So I have been doing what I've been telling people to do on this podcast for years, which is I pushed myself out of my comfort zone and I really lived. I made getting out of the house, seeing people, seeing friends, trying new things a priority. I have left the house more in the last 2 months than I probably did in the 2 years before that. I went to outdoor art installations. I went to a kick-ass Kamala rally. I went to 5, I think, different orchards over the couple of months to get apples, and we also go to pet baby goats and things like that. It brings total joy to me. I went to an amazing cat cafe that opened up here. I have seen friends, I've played games. I actively have gone out of my way to connect with some people that I love that I'd lost touch with. I just made my goals of the joy journey, which were mindfulness, connection, an important part of my day. And it helped. I do feel better. I've been meditating regularly. I have been doing gratitude with Danny regularly. We do affirmations every day. It hasn't been perfect, but I'm doing it. And it's working. And I think you can hear in the sound of my voice just that I am lighter and happier than I used to be. I also got back in touch with my therapist. I got back in touch with some coaches and got some support in places that I need it. This wasn't just a Kira joy journey. This was a Kira building her support team joy journey. And I feel pretty fucking good. And of course, now we're going into winter, so we'll see. I'm here, I'm feeling good, and I am happy to be back saying hello to you on this podcast and telling you that Thrive is still alive and we're still filling the last couple of spots. And I actually changed up the final retreat to go to Palm Springs. We're renting out our own boutique motel with our own pool and our own rooms and our own, like, this whole cool thing. So I am hoping, if you haven't been thinking about it, that after today's podcast, you will be. Because there's been a couple of things that have come up that I've been wanting to come over here and talk to you about. And let's get into it. So one of the things that I have found super interesting as I get a little bit older is how much more interested I am in history and just where we came from, where I came from, how we as a society became like this. How did we get here? And I did a podcast a couple months ago saying, how did I get here? How did we all get here? What brought us here? And one of the things that came up were just these core fucking limiting bullshit beliefs that I was immersed in from the minute I was born. That no matter that I am now 51 years old, I am still occasionally, because I've cleared a lot of this shit, making decisions from. And if you are like me, if you are Gen X, if you are even elder millennial, and I also think just where you live can make an impact here. Coming from the Midwest, there's definitely a good girl, nice people do this and don't do that, and all of that kind of bullshit. So maybe you resonate with that. Let's talk about some of these beliefs that I know I'm not alone, because as soon as I put it up, people are like, yep, or all of these, or 100%, or whatever it is. Everybody feels these beliefs. Every woman near my age I know feels these beliefs. But I don't think we know how much they're still in our unconscious driver's seat. The thing about beliefs is most of them are created by the age of 7. Our brain is nowhere near formed to be able to critically think about those beliefs. So we just watch and observe as we're kids and take in all of these ideas, take in all of these beliefs. And even if we think we've moved on or we feel more powerful now, and especially as women, we've found maybe connection and community in feminism. And I just need to mention and acknowledge something. I am 100% a feminist, and we, for some reason, have a very hard time with that word. And in fact, for years, I felt like I was a powerful woman, but had a hard time with the word feminist just because there's so much negative connotation to it. And I didn't feel like that negativity represented me. But as I keep telling people, feminism is the belief that women deserve the same rights as men. That's it. That's it. Do you not believe, anybody who's listening to this, that women, 51% of the population actually, don't deserve the exact same rights that men have? And I realize that it took me a long ass time to get here. And I'm immersed in this shit all day, every day. So I want to bring you back around to all the things I have been thinking about, learning, researching lately, and just even digging into my own shit. And I brought 10, and I know it's a lot. This is probably going to be long, but you haven't heard from me in a while. So we're going to take this little journey together. And I'm going to break down what I learned. There's a very good chance you learned them too. And why these beliefs are bullshit and not helping us in any fucking way anymore at all. So let's just jump into these. And by the way, there is no particular order. I just literally wrote these yesterday and just picked my favorite of them. But number 1 is don't speak up or ask for what you need because people will think you are needy and will leave you. I 100% learned this. I learned this by watching my mom not feeling like she could ask for what she wanted or needed in her life, in her relationship. I learned this by asking for things as a child and not getting my needs met emotionally. And somehow that particularly became a thing for women my age, that we just hardcore were told that our needs were too much, that if we asked for them, that was too much, and that we would just probably push people away if we did. So the number one thing I hear for so many of my clients is that I don't want to ask for what I need because what if they can't give it to me? Or what if they don't want to? Sometimes it's not even that they'll leave. It's just finding out that person isn't the person you want them to be. But then why are we with that person? This whole belief that I see that is instilled in so many women my age, so many, about speaking up, about being needy, about wanting more from the relationships. Now I'm going to toss another layer on top of this, and you may get it or you may not. And if you listen to this podcast or you worked with me, you will, or quite a bit about attachment styles. But I also see this really being laid on the anxious attachment style. So we make it a woman thing, but it's actually an anxious attachment style thing. That we're so nervous that we're going to ask for the wrong things or ask for too much that we just don't ask for anything at all or very little. So we never really feel good. We never feel seen. We never feel heard. We never feel loved, like in the majority of our relationships, which is fucking lonely. I 100% learned this. And I literally had to work on this for years with Danny, of not shutting down, clamming up, doing the no, I'm okay when I wasn't, all of that bullshit that's actually game playing because I had this deep down ingrained belief that me asking for anything was going to be too much. And then he was going to leave. But that's the opposite of good relationships. That's the opposite of love. You have to have your needs met or it's not love. Next one. Boys are more sexual than girls. So you need to get physical or sexual with them right away to keep them interested, whether you're ready or not. It makes my stomach sick now that we still talk about the third date rule. It literally makes me want to vomit that women have been taught that we have to do things that we may not want, that we may not be ready for, that let people touch us, kiss us, do things to us that we don't want because society told we had to for boys to like us. Gross. Fucking gross. And this is actually, I'm going to tie this to one other one here. If you don't bend over backwards and please your partner, they will get their needs met somewhere else, and that's your fault. So those are two of them that are in line with each other, but they're both this disgusting belief that women are in charge of keeping men interested, keeping men pleased, keeping men happy, and making sure everybody else's emotions are more important than our own. Now, maybe these don't resonate with you, but I think they're going to resonate with a lot of you. If you are near my age, if you were raised around the same time, if you were in my generation, this is not only what sometimes we saw in our families and our parents, but this is what we saw on TV. This is what we saw in movies. This is what we read in the Sweet Valley High books, right? I'm not calling out Sweet Valley High, but I'm just calling out all of the books that I read that had to do with girls bending over backwards, making themselves into a pretzel so that a boy would like them. I can't even tell you, and it's funny/horrifying. And this has come up multiple times in our relationship. Danny thinks it's crazy where he'll say to me, hey, and I'll be like, and I'll stop myself. And by that way, the hey is like, hey, are you up for it? And I'll stop myself because my natural knee-jerk reaction is, of course, babe. Whether I'm feeling it, my body's feeling it, my hoo-ha's feeling it, especially now that it's pretty dry and dusty down there from perimenopause, because that's so ingrained that if I don't please my partner, if I don't make sure that even though I may be in the middle of a project or doing something for work, that if I don't keep my man pleased, Danny, who's the nicest guy on this earth, that he will leave. That's how deeply we're 10 years, guys. Since I did my last podcast, we have now been together 10 years. We started dating while I was on this podcast. If you go back far enough, you will hear the beginning of our relationship and us dating and him on there and everything else. And when I told him this, I'm like, honestly, babe, I'm not up for it right now, but I feel such a weird amount of shame and guilt for saying no to you. And he's, oh my God, really? And I'm like, yes. That's so fucked up. I'm like, I know. I would never want you to do anything sexual that you were not in the mood to do. And I'm like, thank you. And that was like a release. I think I cried when that happened. And it's weird how has come up since. But these are what I was taught. And that's just what I can promise you. This was not taught to me by my mom and by my dad. Like that wasn't happening in our mildly Christian household. This is what I learned from society. All the Cosmo fucking quizzes. How to keep your boy happy. How to give the best blowjob. How to give him crazy great orgasms. How to this. How to that. All about you being a different person or version of yourself or what you're comfortable with to keep guys pleased. And I know guys listen to this podcast. I don't want you to feel guilty and shameful about this because I don't think that you were given good tools or information either. They weren't the same thing that women were given, but I don't think you were given that either. So do not feel bad. I see Danny have this big guy's guilt, and I was like, listen, You are an amazing man. You are incredible in this relationship. You help cheerlead and support this business that supports other amazing women finding great guys and creating great relationships and just living a better life. So you're part of the solution. Next, I'm a little grossed out after that one. If you are bigger than the normal body type, no one will want to be in a relationship with you. So shrink, starve, numb, and be absolutely miserable to try to be that size and beat yourself up every fucking day that you are not. I'm not going to cry because I have up to my sertraline and I'm not now crying 17 times a day. So yay. This is what I was told. Somewhere around 7th and 8th grade, I was a really super skinny kid, athletic, gymnastics and dancing and all these things that I loved. Somewhere around middle school, and I now know probably because of PCOS, I started to gain weight and just slowly kept putting it on throughout my teen years and college years and 20s. I now understand my body and kind of PCOS because there's still not a ton of research on it and understanding. But I had a very deep belief that I was inherently flawed and unlovable because of the size of my body. I can promise you I was not born with that belief. I can promise you were not born with that belief. But it's bullshit. I'm in a loving relationship and I am the heaviest weight I've ever been. I'm so mad at the years that I spent miserable. I weirdly did not get a eating disorder like so many people I know. I just was miserable. And just to not drive myself crazy, I gave up. I gave up on dieting and everything else years ago because it made me insane. It made me so unhappy, so crazy. I just had to stop. But knowing and still unraveling the bullshit belief system I have around my worth and lovability because of the fat I have on my body is so ludicrous to me now. But man, that was a message that was shoved down my throat, not even by my parents, but by everybody else. It's not true. And the worst part about having our weight weigh us down so much is it keeps us isolating. It keeps us in this deep ass awful cycle of we don't like ourselves or our body. So we isolate and we stay home. And then we end up usually eating because we're isolating and lonely and don't feel like we're connecting with humans and we need to. And then we gain weight and it's just the cycle of hell. And at one point, I just had to get off. I'm so glad I don't believe this anymore. I'm so glad that I have a partner that celebrates my body as I do with him. It's bullshit. Don't believe it. Next, don't be too much, too educated, too confident, too successful. And I think we can keep going with those, right? Or you will be intimidating to men and undateable. And whether or not you are dateable should be your main source of worth. My whole life, I was told I was being too fill in the blank. I'm still working through that shit in therapy. A lot of it was my ADHD, but the too confident, the too smart. I remember that Family Ties episode. Guys, that wasn't that long ago. The Family Ties episode where Jennifer, and I'm trying to remember if it was like Will Wheaton or something like that, was her boyfriend, and she pretended to be dumb so he would like her. Because that is shit. That was the after school special shit that we were taught. Let me tell you why I'm not talking about dating anymore. Because women are too educated and too confident and too successful. And they are intimidating men. And that's not women's fault or problem. And as a reminder, there are some fantastic men out there who are not like that. But I would not say they are the majority right now. There's some total like world society bullshit we're going to have to go through for that to shift. And that's kind of what we're seeing right now in my mind. Now, let me make this very quick statement. I do believe that many times with that being too educated, too successful, too whatever, blah, 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 we may feel that way, but it also might be tied to some low self-worth. So what happens is we put only our shininess out there. Oh, look at me and how good I'm doing in my job right now, or I just bought a house, or I'm traveling to 6 different countries this year, or whatever it is. So that when people do meet us, they actually don't know where they fit into our lives. I think that's important that we have enough vulnerability, because that's where love is, for people to see where they can fit in, where they can take care of you and where they can love you. Because that's what relationships are about. I can guarantee you this. If there are people who don't know how to be in your life, they probably are not going to stay. And the thing is that we want to say that's their problem, but it's not completely their problem. Because you and I both know that you're not sharing all the versions of you. You're only sharing the stuff that looks good. But as humans, we have all of the things, good and not so goods, and a bunch of like neutrals. Like we're just very mediocre at a lot of things. We're such a society of we're really good or really bad. And honestly, I'm just okay at the majority of things in my life. I'm really good at coaching and talking about love and happiness. I'm really not good at seeing cleaning and detailed work. And the rest of it I'm mediocre at. So there's a difference between people being intimidated just because you have gone after your dreams and your goals and you have reached them, versus people not being able to see how to fit in your life. Next, don't show people who you really are or share your feelings too soon, because you will scare them away. Where on God's green earth have we created this toxic masculine version of men that they're so strong and silent and rocks and all of these fucking weird things that we believe about what men should be? And then we've also made them scared little bunny rabbits that, oh my God, be the wrong thing for more than 6 seconds or they'll go away. They'll leave you. If anybody scares away that easy, then that's on them. I spent 40 some years of my life thinking that expressing my feelings for people, my interest for people, showing who I am, the kind of goods and in-betweens and not so goods, I just shoved all that shit down because I was so scared that if I didn't do things perfectly, they would go away. That's ridiculous. Men are not scared bunny rabbits. If you say the wrong thing and they leave, that shows their emotional maturity. Now, that doesn't mean we can be a total asshole and then be like, hey, I just was having a bad day. Sorry. No, clean your side of the street. But what I do see is a shit ton of women getting into relationships that suck because they're not willing to share their feelings or show who they really are. And then that person never really connects because you're not a real person. That's a different thing. But I just got to say this and keep saying it. If you express yourself at a normal time in a relationship, if you're asking for what is this, which you very much get to ask for, and they leave or they're scared or this is too much too soon, that's really showing you where they are more than anything about you. Oh, this one's fun. If a boy is mean to you, that means he likes you. What in the literal fucking ridiculousness is that? This shit left me confused about guys for years. I thought that if somebody liked me, that meant they were supposed to be indifferent to me half the time or inconsistent. I put up with just so much bullshit because I was told this idea that, well, if he likes you, he's nice to you, but he might also be mean to you and he can still like you. That's just part of it. That's how a bunch of people got in abusive fucking relationships. That's how we end up with love bombers and narcissists, because we have confused love. You guys, last night I put myself through some personal hell and I watched the Whitney documentary, the Whitney Houston documentary. I don't know if you guys have watched it. I feel like I'm 5 years too late on everything over here, but heartbreaking. And I watched more than one person on that documentary, and this was made after her death, say that her and Bobby had a special kind of love. And then went on to describe a horribly codependent, addicted, abusive relationship. That ain't love, my friends. And for a long time in this role, talking about dating and healthy relationships and healthy love and all of that shit, I cannot tell you the amount the amount of people who tell me about love and then describe fear, hate, abuse, awful things and call it love. For a long time, I was just trying to teach people about love. And I still am, by the way. That's still always a part of core of my work is discussing about what love is, because I think it's easier to get something when you understand it. But I also realized that part of what was keeping us in this place is this horrible limiting belief that we were raised with, that all of these terrible relationships that we saw maybe our parents have, or our grandparents, or our aunts and uncles, or cousins, or teachers, or friends, or whoever, that we were told was love and was not. That shit has fucked us up for centuries. Next belief I learned: men don't feel as much as women, so you should never ask or expect them to share their feelings. Now I added on, you should try to read their minds as much as possible to not have to ask what they're feeling because you don't want to be needy. There's that needy thing again. You guys, I am very much the person that at one point believed, a long time ago now, that women were too emotional to be president. I think I believe that in my late teens. Women are too emotional. What a bunch of bullshit. I guess we don't include anger, rape, assault, jealousy. I guess we don't include those as emotions. Because it's okay for men to have those emotions. Is that the theory here? Men 100% feel as much as women do. Everybody feels a lot of emotions. Some people are more emotional than others. That can depend on 1,000 different things, and it has nothing to do with gender. But we've also created, because I can do a 10 beliefs that men learned, and one of them was don't express your feelings. Boys don't cry. Boys don't whatever, share their secrets or their stories. All the bullshit that keep all of us conditioned. And what happens? And I bet a few of you guys know. What happens when every feeling that you have that doesn't feel good, you shove down again and again? That never turns out well. I've had clients tell me in the last 3 years when I'm on a one-on-one with them, guys don't feel as much as women. I'm like, are you kidding me? We are all buying into this bullshit. Next, it's a girl's responsibility to dress and act appropriately at all times, or otherwise, boys can't help themselves. And that's your fault. I see women policing other women on their clothing every day online. It's not even guys. We have all bought into these bullshit beliefs so much that women are doing this to other women. Half of this shit, most of this shit. It's not your responsibility to do anything. Now, I'm not going to tell you that we do make choices and there are consequences of those choices. But it is not your job to look or act a certain way so that boys can control themselves. Instead, let's teach boys how to control themselves. Why are we second-class citizens here? I'm not asking to be I'm just asking, I think that there's this weird space where we're now like, but women are superior. I don't think that. I think we're all on a freaking journey. And the minute that we make every guy the bad guy, then we are also the problem. But for all that is well and good and all the true crime podcasts I've listened to and all of the things over the years, our problem is not what girls are doing. I can't even believe how many women just don't believe other women, even though we've experienced shit ourselves, even if we've seen our friends experience things. And then we hear somebody else and we're like, oh, that's probably not real. We are screaming as women to be seen and heard, and then we don't even see and hear each other. Boys can control themselves. Everybody can control themselves. If you can't, then there's some large work you need to do. Final one, it is your job, my job, a woman's job, to smile and look pretty, even if you're dying inside. The amount of just over the years, just people saying absolutely gross, inappropriate things to me about my body, men and women, people who were upset or didn't like if I had feelings or emotions about something, the amount that my parents never said, but really believed in it's your job to make sure everybody feels good. It's your job to make every other person feel good but you, that we are second-class citizens in our own lives. All of these beliefs are not good for anybody. It points to men, but guys our age didn't create these either. And they were given their own set of limiting bullshit beliefs that are unhelpful to them too. But until we start looking at these critically and understanding that some of these beliefs are so deeply ingrained in us, we don't even see how unhealthy they are for us. I can look at these and call bullshit now, but some of these I couldn't have even called bullshit on 4 years ago. This has been a process, my own journey in understanding and unwrapping or raveling what I learned and what's true and what's just not. And here's what I know working with people now for 16 years. We all have these beliefs. They are making unconsciously or subconsciously a lot of your decisions. And if we don't actively look at them and replace them, they will stay forever. This is what I'm doing in Thrive. This is a core part of it. Looking at what you personally learned in belief and making sure it represents who you are now and who you want to be in the future. I don't want to be the woman I was raised to be. She was a people pleaser. She was resentful. She never expressed her opinions or that she had feelings for guys and basically just gave up 20 years of dating because of it. I deep down believe that no one would love me because of how I looked and acted from that place, even though I would not have thought so. And I can promise you the amount of time I spent on social media, which I want to be zero right now with the election. I see so many comments on my stuff, on other people's stuff, and they are not just from men. And they are not just from boomers or Gen Xers either. But this is definitely how we were raised. Who has seen that moment between Winona Ryder and Jenna Ortega? I feel like that's such a representation right now of Gen X women versus Gen Z women. Not even versus, right? There's no. But somebody tells us to do something and we just do. We don't even ask why. We don't even ask, does that feel good? We just do it. And it shows up in our jobs, and it shows up in our friendships, and it shows up in our relationships, and it shows up in the choices we make every day. We have to create a different foundation. You have to not only see those beliefs, you have to release those beliefs and then replace those beliefs. If you are hearing this, if you are feeling this, if you know you have a bunch of shit that is not working for you, reach out to me. Maybe it's Thrive, maybe it's one-on-one work, maybe it's something, but I can promise you that this is keeping you in a place that doesn't feel good. And it's keeping you in a cycle that is unhelpful and not getting you the life you want. That's what coaches do. That's what I do as a coach. And if you're not sure what I do, just get on a call with me, guys. I do free calls all the time. But if you're listening to this podcast, I guarantee there's probably a couple of things that have stood out to you that were aha moments. Imagine me talking to you one-on-one and that happening. You can take that work that you have to do and scrunch it down to about 1% because I can take my 16 years of coaching, of teaching, of researching and learning and help you learn, apply, and practice. Not just know, learn, apply, and practice these techniques. That's what I do. Thrive is going to be fucking amazing. It's the best thing I've ever done. If you think you can do it, and I know nobody wants to do anything right now until this election is over, and I feel the exact same way. But the day that it is, or the next day, reach out to me. Let's make your life better. Nothing changes if nothing changes. I can't believe how we keep doing the same things and think that our life is going to turn out differently. How does that make sense? That's it, guys. That's it for today. In 2025, if you're ready to change your life, change it with me. Let's do this. Let's fucking do this. I'm so excited. There is now a 10-part payment plan. Figure it out. Come talk to me. We're going to jump on a call. And by the way, if it's not a good match, if I'm like, you know what? This isn't what you need right now, I will tell you. I'm that person. If you liked this, please subscribe. I don't always put things out weekly. Sometimes I put things out 3 times a week. Sometimes I'll have a week and a half to 2 weeks in between. So subscribe so you know exactly when things go live. Finally, if you really love it, please leave a review. Whether it's just some stars on Apple or Spotify, or really writing down what you are learning and loving about this podcast. I read every single one. They fucking make my day. You are the wind beneath my wings. And it helps get it out there. Because honestly, as much as I can say this, for as much feedback I get about this podcast, which is a lot, and most of it all very positive, except for the people who don't like my swearing and don't fucking care. Even if you never share this with another person, by you writing an anonymous review, that lets other people know this might be something that they want to check out. All right, guys. I'll see you soon. No more surviving. Let's thrive.